Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the May 22nd, 2013 meeting of the Lowell Conservation Commission. Moving on to business, first item on the agenda tonight is a notice of intent continued from the May 8th, 2013 hearing, Woodland Park Townhouse Condominium Trust, 90 to 160 Swan Street, concerning DEP file number 2060705. The project location is 90 to 124 Swan Street, concerning the replacement of existing parking lot pavement within a wetland buffer zone and bordering vegetated wetland. Just a couple of reminders, if kindly silence any electronic devices you may have, and as you approach the podium, kindly speak loudly and clearly. Sir, please. Kindly speak loudly and clearly. And one other item of housekeeping, you notice there's only 3 members tonight. We do not have a quorum, so we will not be able to take any official action on any of the hearings tonight. We can hear, we can take testimony and conduct the hearings, we just can't vote. All right?
Good evening, Dan O'Driscoll again from O'Driscoll Land Surveying, and we have Scott
Kerouac with RMX Northeast.
Scott Kerouac, RMX Northeast. They're the project managers of the, construction managers of the project. Since the last meeting, I have a set of revised plans I'd like to get to you, submit to you.
Yes.
So the plans you see in front of you have been revised since the last set. We're showing all the proposed grading for both the parking lots. We did also detail the drainage on Swan Street, and we analyzed all most of the structures here, and what's happening is the drainage that's being collected in Swan Street through catch bases and drain manholes actually come onto our site and empty out here on this head wall. So that all the drainage in Swan Street and this area of Woodland Drive outlet right here on a head wall. That was one of the questions at the last meeting, where all the drainage on Swan Street ended up. We also added a sheet 2 to the plan, which not only shows details of the construction, but also details this intersection of the entrance in Swan Street, which is going to be reconstructed to alleviate the drainage from Swan Street coming onto the property. There was another concern at the last meeting about sand being deposited at the end of the parking lots here. So what we've done is provided 2 at the end of each parking lot, provided like a rip-rap swale about 1 foot deep that'll act as a place that could collect sand from runoff and also kind of slow the rush of water if there was a heavy, intense storm. instead of just running off directly into the wetlands. And I think I'll have Scott talk to you about the impervious pavement that was brought up at the last meeting as well, if that's okay.
The question of impervious pavement being used in this driveway area, we did a little bit of research into it, and basically what we came to a conclusion with is that the pavement, the impervious pavement, it would add additional 2 to 3 times the cost of the project. And for this particular location, since it's close to the water table and where the water is going to be collecting, there's a chance that the water, in serious circumstances, the water could raise and clog the pores of the impervious pavement. Thus, it would then, in such, act like the typical pavement that you would use, that we are planning to use in this. So without routine, regular maintenance and extreme costs to maintain the impervious pavement, it wouldn't really do much for the project itself. With the harsh winters in the area, the additional sand and salt and everything, it does clog those pores, and it wouldn't, without routine maintenance, regular maintenance of the area, and being so close to the water table, it wouldn't, it's not a viable option.
Where you're proposing on the western part of the property, other side, yeah, the riprap area on the western side, you're proposing some regrading there, obviously, to make that more effective. What exists at the edge of the pavement there now, between that and the resource area?
What exists there now at the edge of the pavement is some older riprap it's actually almost buried with like loam and grass. It's mostly a grassed area down the slope to the edge of the wetland. It looks like there was perhaps some riprap installed there in the project, but it's all been overgrown. But you can still see rocks here and there. But it's, I would say, mostly a grass strip.
All right, and on the eastern riprap section, yes. What is there between that and the resource area?
That's the same thing. It's basically grass, yeah.
Does it look like there was some evidence of riprap having been there before?
A little bit, not so much on this one as that one.
Is there an established lawn there, or
Yes.
it in fairly decent shape, or?
Yeah, it's in fairly decent shape, I would say.
All right, Commissioner Varnum?
Regarding the proposed swale, it appears that the snow is plowed in that direction, and perhaps that's where a lot of the sand is coming from, is at the end there. What's to prevent that swale from being filled in by somebody just plowing it deeply or something? How is that constructed is what I'm trying to...
Oh, well, it's constructed by basically a 3-to-1 slope that comes down to about a foot level area, back up to a 3-to-1 slope, and then whatever 3-to-1 slope needs to be to feather back to grade. It's the first 2 feet we're proposing like that, the river rock, the 2 to 3 inch diameter for the first 2 feet, and then in the swale, we're proposing a 4 to 6 inch riprap.
Oh, so there's no possibility of a snow plow plowing that up because it could be so much lower?
Correct.
Do you need permission from the city or anybody to put a ridge or berm at the driveway entrance? Or is that going to be entirely on your property?
No, most of the construction on this is the sidewalk and in the site, in this general area. We are going to coordinate with the city engineer and the DPW for that construction.
Yeah, you said did you mean that the manhole from Swan Street drains onto, through a pipe onto the property?
That's
Or-
correct.
You didn't mean sheet flow?
No, it's flowing through a pipe. From Swan Street down Woodland Drive.
Okay, I don't have any more questions, thank you.
Welcome.
Commissioner Gordon?
No questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'd need a few more minutes to digest this anyway, just having seen it for the first time tonight, but I'm not seeing anything here that's screaming at me right now. I appreciate your efforts to look into the pervious pavement. It's not a solution, you know, as we said, it's not a solution for everyone, but at least investigating it is worth it. We hope in the future that the price of installation or the price of the materials comes down as more people use it, but you know, apparently it's still quite high, I guess. So, all right, we can't do anything. What I'm going to do is open this up for comments at this point in time. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding this project? And this is the Woodland Park Condominium Trust. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns? All right, is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns? All right. Would at this point in time entertain a motion to continue this to the next hearing? We have a DEP file number. We can't close the hearing, though, without a quorum. So, okay. I would like to say you don't need to be here next meeting, but you will. There may be questions from commissioners that aren't here. I don't have any further questions, and I'm not assuming that, you know, I don't see anything glaring on it. I'm not likely to have any questions. I can't speak for my fellow commissioners who are here, but there may be as they look more at the plan. Do I have a motion to continue?
Motion to continue.
All right.
Second.
All right, I think we can at least do that. All in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, our next meeting is June 12th? Okay, it's June 12th, okay? All right. Second item on the agenda is notice of intent, Lowell National Historic Park, concerning DEP file number 2060706. Project location is 300 Pawtucket Boulevard, which is the Bellegarde Boathouse. It's replacement of an existing dock and gangway and pilings along the Merrimack River. The resource areas are riverbank, bordering vegetative wetlands, land under water bodies and waterways, and riverfront area.
I'm Chuck Parrott, the architect of the Lowell National Historical Park, here to represent us in this application. Basically, This is a replacement of an existing dock. It will be a larger facility when the work is complete. I have a couple of photographs here that I'd like to give you that I think illustrate it.
Okay, all right. Oh, all right, you're not, okay, I thought you were doing this one, and, okay, you're doing the small one, okay, all right. I guess I should have figured that out when you had the UML skiffs instead of the racing boats, so.
The principal difference, in addition to the size, because it will be about twice that length, it'll be 120 feet long, is that it will have new pilings. It will be piling supported, and there will be a row of pilings along the channel side of the dock. And the reason for that is, the reason for the pilings is that it will be needed to support a larger boat that the National Park Service is in the process of acquiring, we call the riverboat, that will be a much heavier boat and will need the support of the pilings at the dock to support it when it's tied up. That boat will be probably 40 to 44 feet long, so it'll be a fairly sizable boat. It'll stay always on the pond and allow our programs to take, mostly school children on environmental awareness trips on the pond, as far as presumably, the state line in the pond.
All right, so I noticed from the filing, it seems the only thing you're changing is you're increasing the size of the floating dock.
And we are putting in pilings.
Well, but you're replacing them in
Well,
kind.
that's not accurate.
No.
There are two pilings that you'll see in the photograph that are right adjacent to the bulkhead.
Yeah,
Those are going to stay in place and in
Okay.
fact not be functional with the new dock. If you look at the plan, you'll see the new dock will have a gangway, and it'll project that dock slightly further into the stream. Instead of a stairway down as they have now, there will be a gangway from
okay.
the bulkhead out.
So where will the new pilings be then?
If you look at your plan, you'll see them on the, what I call the channel side, or, of the dock, the row of 6 pilings.
Now, how do
Is
they?
that clear, or do you need me, shall I try to point it out to you?
So the pilings will be out closer to the dock?
Well, they will be right against the dock, but what I'm saying is that, typically they're on the back side of the dock in a situation like this, not the front side of the dock. And the pilings in this case will be on what I'm calling the front side of the dock, the side of the dock that our riverboat will tie up to. And again, those pilings are needed, marine pilings are needed to support that boat, because this dock is not stout enough to support a boat of that size under, typical.
All right. Oh, okay, so according the plan, you have 6 pilings going
Right.
in? But
That's
the
right.
literature that didn't have that, or,
They didn't state the number but they
Okay.
were shown, they're on the drawing.
all right, now, are they gonna be, now, these are what, they're like telephone poles?
They will be driven
basically,
pilings, wooden pilings.
All right, how do you do that?
They were put into the pile driver, marine pile driver.
So like a floating
Yeah, it'll be
crane or something
it'll
like
be a
that?
floating rig, with a pile driver on the end of it. It'll be a barge, essentially, that presume will be launched right there at the state boat dock.
Okay, and those, I'm assuming, will withstand ice flow and all that kind
Well,
of,
the pilings will, of course, stay there year-round.
Right.
But as it is now, the floating dock sections will be removed seasonally. Typically, we'd be putting them in, well, of course, we're doing this cooperatively with the university, so it's a question of, when we actually will put it in, but I would guess sometime about this time of year, and taken out probably in the latter part of October. So the pilings will, will stay, will be permanent in essence.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Commissioner Varnum?
I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Gordon?
No questions.
All right. I'm going to open this up for comment, if there is any. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding this project? This is the National Historic Park project. Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns? Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns? Okay. We cannot close the public hearing. We have a DEP file number, but we can't close the hearing because we don't have a quorum. I'm not anticipating anything strange. I don't know if the city has any specific comments. Have we heard any? Has the DEP commented on this?
You mean the DPW?
The DEP, have they sent any comments back?
No.
We're in the process of making applications with Chapter 91 waterways license as well as a Corps of Engineers permit, so those have not yet been received.
Do you need an additional waterways license?
Consultants told us that we did need those permits.
Okay.
So we are, in the process of making that application.
So I would have thought that you would have been able to do this as a matter of right under the existing.
Well, we're, in other words, what I'm saying is we're examining that with them. We're going
all
to
right.
do an application and say, do we need to go to full permit on this because it is a replacement? It was unclear whether, what we're doing with the pilings would trigger, a larger review. So
Okay.
we're basically going to go through that step and see if there's, whether we need to actually do the full-blown Chapter 91 license.
All right. Okay. Do I motion to continue to the June 12th hearing date?
Motion to continue.
Seconded by Commissioner
Second.
Gordon. All in favor? I oppose. The ayes have it. All right. We will see you back on June 12th.
Keep those photographs in your file.
Well, we have to. Anything that's submitted now, we have to keep.
Okay, you got it. All right.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability, also continued from the May 8th, 2013 hearing date. The project, Swan Street Development Company LLC. The project location is 61 Bigelow Street and 160.1 Swan Street. It's regarding construction of a single-family residential development at 61 Bigelow Street and 160.1 Swan Street. As on the last hearing date, we had requested a peer review of this project, and from what I understand, the applicant has requested a continuance for finalization of the peer review process. So by letter, and I think it was dated yesterday or the day before?
Today morning.
Day before? Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
and
So
it's,
a recent email or letter from the applicant requesting a continuance. So if I can have a motion to continue at the request of the applicant
Motion to continue.
by Commissioner Gordon, seconded by Commissioner Varnum. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. This is also continued to the June 12th hearing date. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is request for determination of applicability, National Grid. Project location is 9 and 19 Cayenne Street. It's regarding to conduct soil boring, solid waste removal, and installation of fence within wetland buffer zone, other resource areas bordering vegetated wetland. If you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
Hi, I'm Joe Higgins with Innovative Engineering Solutions, the engineer for National Grid.
And I'm Jason Naden, the lead environmental engineer with National Grid.
I'm sorry, what was your last name again?
It's Naden, spelled N as in Nancy, A-I-D-E-N, and I'm the project manager for the site for National Grid.
Floor is yours.
We'd been in front of you folks several times on this area of Lowell, and one of the things that's held up our investigation has been access to certain properties, one of them being city property, which is 9 Cayenne Street. And we obtained that access back in January? in January, an agreement with the city, and part of the issue was there needed to be some site improvements. Cleanup of that building has been burned down a couple times before we can get in and do our investigation work. And in talking with Adam Backey of the development group, he suggested we refile a request for determination and come back in front of you folks for that work as well. After we received the access agreement from the city, then we looked at the rest of Cayenne Street and talked to the owner of 19 Cayenne, RGB Financial. We got an access agreement with them. We just recently obtained one from the MBTA, and I think that's everybody on Cayenne Street now. So our plan is to clean up 9 by removing the remnants of the burned down building and all the debris that's been dumped there. Put that into some roll-off cans that'll be stored on 15 Cayenne. We're going to test that material and then present it to the city to let them figure out how they want to manage it. Once that's cleaned up, we will then go in and do investigation on all those properties, the remaining investigation.
So how is the leaching out of the unknown or oily materials into the canal? How has that been working out? Have you abated that?
We're still capturing it. It has abated somewhat. We had some issues with the people dumping stuff into the canal, and our boom system was somewhat damaged over the winter. We pulled a couch out of it. How someone can dump a couch over the top of the canal wall is beyond me, but, so we've got to do some repairs to it once the water level drops. But it's been holding up okay. We're looking at some other more permanent solutions that once we figure out what we're going to do, we'll be back in front of you for that.
So can you give us some semblance of where you're planning these test borings and what sort of process, just
Yep.
briefly?
I think on the figure that we sent you, it's going to be those shaded areas.
Yeah,
And what we're dealing with, the contamination at 1 Cayenne was from transformer reclamation operations, so it's PCBs driven. And that puts us into another cleanup program under EPA for Tosca, and they have very stringent requirements on how you sample. We've gridded the area off on a spacing of about 30 feet between each boring, and we will be going down all the way to the top of rock with it's a geoprobe rig that pushes a sampler in. We will sample from the ground surface all the way down till we can't go any further. Those samples will be retained, and we'll take discrete pieces of those, analyze the top piece, archive the rest, and until we can get to what a cleanup level is under Tosca. That's how the investigation will go. Once we collect the samples, the holes will be backfilled with bentonite, so you won't see any remnants of it. Any excess material will be put in drums, and National Grid will dispose of that off the site. We are also proposing to install some fencing to try and minimize our further cleanup activities out there, solid waste.
start to finish, for instance, I'm assuming you'll be doing one borehole at a time?
Yeah, we can probably knock off about 8 to 10 a day. So we're looking at about probably 2 weeks, worst case, to do the borings.
Okay, you answered both of my questions in one shot, great. Now, you had indicated the site cleanup is 9 Cayenne Street, that you're gonna clean up the debris there?
Yep,
Stage it on 15
yep,
for inspection and then site removal?
yep.
Okay. How long do you anticipate, your best guess, that it be staged on 15?
I don't know, because it's the city's debris. We're really removing it so we can get at the property, and we're gonna put it in canisters for them.
Okay.
And so I don't know what the city's funding is, what their resources are to get rid of it.
Okay, and 15 is a hardened surface right
Yes.
now, isn't it?
Yes, and that is currently fenced as well.
Okay. What I guess my biggest concern would be, or my only conditions, I'm leaning towards a -3 on this. My conditions would be that those staging areas be fully enclosed with some sort of siltation
Yep.
barriers, and that the piles be tarped.
Okay, again, what we're intending to put them in are roll-off cans. You
Oh,
know,
all right, okay,
And we'll cover those anyway. so
okay, all right.
We don't
So
want,
they're not gonna be loose piles, they're?
No,
Okay,
no.
all right, okay. All right, that's fine, too. I don't have any further questions. Commissioner Varnum?
I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Gordon?
No questions.
All right. And as you're aware, we don't have a quorum tonight, but, again, I'm not seeing anything that's glaring at me right now, so.
okay,
I'd like to say you don't need to come back for the June
I'll
12th
be
hearing,
back.
but you may have questions
Yeah.
from other
Okay.
commissioners, so,
and it's the 12th?
the June 12th.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, thank you. I just, for formality, motion to continue by Commissioner Varnum, seconded by Commissioner Gordon. Any discussion, all in favor? Aye, opposed, the ayes have it. Continue. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is request for determination of applicability. Peter Carbone III. Project location is 55 Technology Drive. It's regarding improvement of existing parking lot partially located within the wetland buffer zone and bordering vegetated wetland.
How are you? My name's Peter Carbone with Novato Real Estate Ventures, the managing partner for this. I actually thought our engineer was going to be here as well.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have other business. Maybe I can see if he's around and we can go a little out of order, or I'm glad to explain the project in terms of what we're intending to do.
That's entirely up to you. If you want to wait for your engineer, we're getting pretty close to the bottom here, but as you know, we can't make a determination one way or another tonight anyway.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because we don't have a quorum. It's fairly rare occurrence, but unfortunately it happened tonight, so.
So if you open the hearing, you don't have a quorum tonight, but will anybody else be able to sit or hear this for the next time? In other words,
Yes,
should we
there's
not open it?
there's a process where the commissioners that aren't here can view the meeting online and bring themselves up to speed with what was discussed tonight.
Okay. Okay. I actually am a zoning and permitting attorney. I used to be for 10 years, but I left that practice about 7 or 8 years ago, and not familiar with your local rules. So, it probably makes sense. I can give you an overview of what we're intending to do. And
Is this your engineer?
that's him.
Okay.
Yep. Hi, Hoosh. How are you?
Why don't you take 30 seconds and
Sure.
get yourself organized and
Okay. I'll give you a little bit of background, perhaps, on the project anyway.
Yep, floor is yours.
We purchased the property just about a year or so ago, a real estate firm. The building consists of about a 90,000 square foot, 2-story office R&D building, just off Drum Hill Road. When we bought it, we had the intention of at some point redoing the parking lots, knowing that we would likely require some upgraded facilities to the drainage structures and so forth. There is a wetland area down to the lower side of the property, which puts this into your jurisdiction. But in big picture, the intent is to upgrade the property by scraping off probably the first couple of inches of blacktop where it's been cracked. The lot's probably in the 30-year-old range. And then coming in, redoing those areas, replacing some curbing in areas. There's a few areas where drainage needs to be tied into, there is an existing drainage structure there now, or structures below grade. But there are areas where we're proposing to add some drainage improvements so that we can better capture and treat the water before it runs off into the wetland areas. So I think with that, I'll leave it up to Hoosh, and then if you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer anything.
Very good. We have an easel if you require one.
Sure.
And you can move that to wherever you'd like. And before you start, I'm going to, Swati, can you grab the microphone there behind you and just press the push button there and identify yourself for the record, please?
My name is Hushman Afshar from Holmberg and Howe. Can you talk without this? You can hear me?
We can hear you, but this is for the record too.
Okay, so the locus premises is located at 55 Technology Drive. This is just a quick bird's eye view from your GIS map, just to show you where the location of the site is. This is Drumhill Road, this is Technology Drive, College Street, and this red line is our property line. This is our site. This is the building, number 55, and this is our parking lot. This area that falls under your jurisdiction, wetland area, is in this area, right here. And according to FEMA flood map that I have a large size of it over there, the floodplain falls somewhere here. So, and this is landfill, so I guess you know where you are right now. So with that, let me go on to the site specific. Well, this is the existing condition. This is the existing condition, and these highlighted areas are the existing walks, existing walkways. But on the other proposed site plan, you will see everything a little more clearly. Okay, this is our building. All the dark green areas are pervious areas. Our property line is basically following the same dark green areas. That's our boundary. The white area is existing parking lot, and the blue is existing detention pond, which was designed when this entire area was developed and designed. And the greenish area here is the wetland, and the dark line area here is border of vegetated wetland. Close to that, this other line is the floodplain, according to FEMA map number, which I have given on the plan here. It's cited. The 104 buffer zone area is this dark brown area. What is happening right now, this existing building is an office building for several very active businesses in the city of Lowell. And these, again, dark areas are the islands. The existing pavement right now, there is no really major subsurface or base course failure, but there is some surface failure. As a result, we are proposing to reclaim the top 1.5 inch of the existing pavement only. That's it. There is no full depth construction except here at the entranceway. That is in terms of really proposed activity, is just repaving, reclaiming the top coat, the surface coat. Since we are doing that, we are also improving the existing drainage system, the drainage condition. Right now, there is a drainage system that has got one outfall here into the detention pond, and there is another drainage outfall here, right here, as it is called out. And then, in addition to that, there are 3 locations where you have direct sheet flow runoff off the parking area onto the detention pond and into the near the wetland here area. One area which we have got direct sheet flow runoff is right here, and one is right in this corner, and the other one is somewhere here where the grades are really low and the sheet flow takes place. What we are proposing to do is install 4 large size and rather expensive treatment units in the system. One is here on this existing 18-inch RCP that goes out into the outfall into the detention pond, and another unit right here on this 18-inch RCP, and then the 3 locations that we have direct sheet flow runoff untreated into the detention pond, we are curbing those off. As a matter of fact, we are proposing to put, instead of existing bit berm at those particular location, we are proposing to put granite curb at that particular location for more protection. And we are regrading it, and at that location we are putting a treatment unit with a catch basin grate. So the runoff will go now into the treatment unit, and then it will discharge into the detention pond at this location and this location. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 treatment units installed that currently none exists. Also, this area which we have another direct runoff as a result of low grade in that direction, we are raising it up a little bit and directing the runoff into the system. In addition to that, we are proposing to install hood in all of our catch basins existing at the site right now. None of the catch basins right now, they have hood. So, and you know, hood is a simple structure that you install in a catch basin, but it's acts most of the times as oil water separator. It controls suspended solid, and it controls floating objects. And they gather into the sump. So the sump is going to get cleaned up. All the sumps will be cleaned up, and the catch basin and the hoods will be installed. All the parking, handicap parking in this area is going to get transferred here, very close to the main entranceway. The buffer zone, the brown area, is less than 17% of the total impervious area of the site. And really the only activity having in that area is installation of these treatment units right on the pipe, which basically digging a hole, installing the system, connecting the pipes into it, and moving out, going back to the resurfacing. We are proposing the silt fence barrier right here. The yellow line is a silt fence barrier, and it's mulch tube with silt fence to control any siltation or erosion going towards off the site. And other than that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
I'm going to get to the new the Vort Sentry treatment structures in due time, but how is the existing detention pond functioning now?
It has been working fine. There has not been any report of any problem. My office is actually just 3 minutes away from this site, and I pass by this almost every day. On Mother's Day, May 16 or 17, 2006, when we had almost a 100-year storm event here in Middlesex County, and as you know, Merrimack Valley flooded, that pond, there was no problem. Even this parking lot didn't get flooded. And the only thing, the outlet from the detention basin is really large. It handles this site, the site across, a few other sites in the area, and even a drainage pipe from the street by the virtue of this outfall here handles all that storm in this detention pond. The only thing we are recommending right now to do is this outlet pipe, which is a 8-inch PVC, controls the flow from here into the wetland, to clean that area and remove the brush, debris, clean head wall area, and 8-inch PVC outlet pipe. Just a little maintenance at the outlet and also around all the outfalls near us.
All right. And I kind of want to take this in a little bit of order. Okay, just the simple stuff first. You're going to eliminate the dozen or so parking spots along the building, the north of the building, to closer to the street?
I'm sorry, you mean the handicapped spaces?
Yeah, you have several spaces. You're going to be moving those, or?
Yes, sir. The handicapped spaces, for some unknown reason to me, are located here right now.
Okay.
The main entrance to the building is here. So these are being relocated, which is shown on C3, our striping plan. They are going to be relocated right in this area, right across from the main entrance. And at this location, the intersection of two walkways, there is a handicapped ramp proposed.
And what, if anything, is going to happen to those parking spaces? They're going to remain?
Yeah, just a standard parking spaces.
Right. From reading the submittal, I was under the impression that you were going to be reducing the pervious surface.
That's correct.
Where?
That's why I showed you the walkways initially. Well, let me just show it to you. These walkways, which is shown here, they are proposed walkways. They are all 5-foot wide walkways. Existing walkways, most of them are it's about 7 feet wide. So we are narrowing them down, number one. Number two, the configuration and the layout of the walkways are changing. As you can see, this yellow, you see how it comes here and there's a large triangle, the yellow area and so on and so forth. We are eliminating this piece altogether. And we are reducing this entrance right here, only in the area to the entrance, because this piece is not serving any purpose. So by virtue of that, we are reducing actually the existing pervious area almost by 500 square foot.
All right, okay, all right, that's a relatively minor thing. It's not in the resource area anyway. All right, now, with respect to, turn around, good. With respect to the resource area, and that area to the northeast, there's about a dozen parking spots there now. Yep. Is there sheet flow there that runs off into the BVW?
Right now there is. Right now there is a low spot here, and
I believe you said you're going to change the grade there slightly?
That is correct.
Now, what are you going to do there?
We are in this area, you see this proposed elevation, 56.2. We are going to raise the curb, raise the grade over there in that area. All this one, because we can do that by virtue of just in the process of repaving, we could do that. We could even, if everywhere else we are grading down 1.5 inch, we can grade down in this area 1 inch and build it up a little bit, put the curb, as you can see, it's a piece of granite curb, the rest is berm, and just raise it up and let it flow towards the catchment area.
And that's the proposed treatment number 4 area?
This is, that is correct,
Okay,
yes.
now, is that going to require a change in the slope? That's off the paved area that goes back down to the floodplain and the BVW?
No, we don't touch here. We don't need to touch anything here. We will just build up here along this line. There will be a little build up. That's it. It doesn't require, I looked into it. If there is a retaining wall, a short retaining wall needed, we don't even need a retaining wall. We can just, without touching this area, we can build this area and install the curb. The fact that we are just installing a curb itself makes a big difference because right now there is no curb. There's a wide swale, open, and the sheet flow just finds its way. Same thing at this location and this location.
Okay, now by catching the sheet flow runoff now that directly goes into the resource area, and now you're going to be putting it into the detention pond, will that be able to handle the additional
Absolutely.
flow for the, I'm assuming it should be able to handle it for the 10-year event, but how about, 25, 50, 100-year events?
Yes, of course, it will be, because you're not talking about a very large area. Soon after this depressed area, low area, then the grade rise up. But yes, there won't be any.
I mean, this parking area has a fairly significant slope to it as it is. It's not flat. I mean, you're between your southern end and your northern end. You've got 6 to 7 feet in some places, changing grade. So
Yeah, but it's a long.
Yeah.
Long run, yes.
Um,
It's not too bad. The slope in this area, the average slope is probably, I would say, 3 to 4%. So we can easily modify that limited area, that corner, and bring it up, and fix the drainage pattern that way.
Now, with respect to, we haven't seen any calculations yet for runoff calculations, but with respect to the existing conditions now with sheet flow going into the BVW and sheet flow going into the detention pond, with putting in 4 catch base or 4 structures, I'm assuming they're inverts, hooded to get the suspended solids and whatnot. With putting those in, how is that going to alter because you're going to be changing the grades to collect sheet flow now into these structures as opposed to letting it go straight into the detention pond. How is that going to change the time functions as it ends up in the detention pond and ultimately back into the BVW through the outlet there? Have you run those calculations yet?
Yes. You see, these 2 locations, actually, they are low and they are low points, and the runoff goes through the open berm or open berm right now as it is.
Mm-hmm.
We are not changing those. We are just blocking off the runoff, putting a catch basin, putting a treatment unit with catch basin grade that catches the flow. We are not disturbing the grade in this area that much. It was low, it is flowing that way, the whole slope is heading that way, it remains as it is. Now we are controlling it, we are checking it by putting a curb, doing very minor adjustments to the grade, so it will go right to the catch basin, and the catch basin grade and into the treatment units. And these treatment units are each, the smallest one, the cheapest one is around $5,000. They are not just a catch basin with a hood. They are systems which are studied, analyzed, and industrial standard. They have, it is proven now, it's everyone, DEP, everyone, it's used widely in the industry. They control over 80% of the suspended solid. So it's not a $1,000 catch basin or $800 catch basin. So these two locations, we are really, it's the lowest spot, we leave it as it is, we just install a unit to catch, so the sheet flow or whatever comes off the parking lot doesn't directly go. Here, it's low, especially in this area, it's low. So we are raising it just enough so it doesn't run away, run off, and come back to the rest of the, join the rest of the drainage pattern.
Now, will those slight and subtle changes in grade affect the runoff patterns and change the directions of any runoff patterns that aren't caught by the catch basins, or do you anticipate catching everything that currently sheet flows off the site now?
There is no way for...
For instance, what I meant is the bulk of it is sheet flowing to the north. Do you anticipate, because of the changes, any of it changing direction and coming, over to the west now, where it hadn't sheet flowed before?
No, that is not possible, because along the way there are other catch basins. There are four different catchment areas. There are other catch basins that they do perform and catch the flow, intercept the flow on its way down. There are a double catch basin here. There is a double catch basin right here. There is a catch basin right here. There is another catch basin near the building in the grass area to catch. There is another catch basin here, and so on and so forth. So everything will be cut. Goes with the slope, and these the way the grading is right now, these catch basins are, you have like 4 or 6 bowl. Your low point and everything goes into that. It's not that it just starts from here and takes off towards the detention pond. They get trapped. That's the way the grading works.
All right, Commissioner Varnum?
I was out at the site today, and it did appear that there was quite a lot of sheet flow going through those two rip-wrapped areas, according to how much soil and leaves and everything they had taken along with it. I'm just curious as to how much disruption there will be of the green areas alongside the detention pond and the wetland. Are you, I noticed your silt fence is fairly close to the berm. So are you planning any work beyond that silt fence?
No, we don't need to. We don't have to. We have no business to be here. You're talking about this area, correct? Or this area?
In that area
no.
also.
No, we don't need to be there. The curb is existing, so we just go up to the curb, remove it, and put it back. We don't have to be. The base is there, the sub-base is there, and we really don't have to take one step beyond this silt fence shown. In this area, the only thing, that's why the silt fence goes a little juts out here like this and goes this way. Only in this area, we will be doing a trench to install our outfall pipe for the new treatment unit number 2 and treatment unit number 3 and the flare end. Those are the only 2 areas that we will have a little activity in this area, and a little activity in this area, which is probably 10 to 15 feet in this area, and probably 20 feet in this area to install the outfall pipe from those units. That's it.
So as far as vegetation, you don't have a proposal to clear the banks of that detention area or other areas?
This area, we will do some cleaning. In this area.
What do you mean by cleaning?
I mean, of course, in work area here, if you see any trash or any shrubs in our work area, we will remove it. But the entire rest of this is all an easement, a drainage easement, and there are many people contributing to it. If I understand your question right.
Well, I'm getting around to it. This perhaps isn't your point, but as I was looking at that detention basin today, it's actually become a real wildlife habitat, I would say. There were numerous species of birds out there, very vocal birds, and I saw a lot of natural shrubbery rather than planted, or there were some invasives there, but I thought it was a wonderful habitat area for bird life, and I was concerned, it being nesting season, that if you were to clear, for instance, that whole slope, not only would there be the chance of erosion because it's fairly steep, but there's a chance of also disturbing nesting birds and things like that.
No, we are not touching any. What I mean by cleaning that, as we go along the way to do our install our outfall here and here, if we see any tire, any
I did see a couple of pieces of
market
trash in
basket,
there.
which is not too far, or Hannaford, what do you call it, the shopping cart,
Right.
we'll definitely remove it.
It's really not too bad. I was really quite impressed with how
Yes.
natural and good it looked out there. There was a section of poison ivy, excuse me, and a section of bamboo that if you wanted to eradicate that would probably be a good thing.
We'll see. I mean, probably there will be some people very allergic to it, so they will probably spray it if I come across it. But no, this system here is, that's why I say it works, it's working, functioning so well, because in itself, it's the best treatment unit in this system, in this circuit here, before pushing off discharging any flow into the wetland area.
You mentioned granite curbing. Would that include along the north side there where the two rock swales are?
Yes. Anywhere we are proposing to install a catch basin, grate with treatment unit under it, we are proposing granite curbing. That is correct. Here. That's why the drawing shows the thick line here, which is a representation of berm, Cape Cod berm, which is wider than a 6-inch granite curb, and you see a thinner line here, which is representation of granite curbing. That's correct.
It seems they probably have been there quite a while, but it seems that the snowplows are what's destroying the berms along that edge.
Well, welcome to New England and berms. I don't like them myself, but it is what it is right now, and cost-wise, this is a long run.
Is there any snow storage plan, or would you just leave that up to the contractor to push it wherever he can?
The existing snow storage areas, because we are not extending the limit of paved areas, the parking areas, the existing snow storage areas will stay as they are, which they have been working so far. for the entire site, which is all this dark green area in here. These are our storage areas. And of course, as you know, what happens during the winter, all these islands in the middle of the parking lot, they are used for storage.
So as far as disturbance of pervious areas, where would that occur? Just where the two locations that you've been pointing to on the north side there?
That is correct. Those are the only two areas where we install the outlet. That's correct. There is no other disturbance.
So that'll be a subsurface pipe, will it? And then
Correct.
it'd be covered over,
Correct.
loamed and seeded?
Correct. It's not actually very deep. Also, it's actually shallow. Maybe that's why it comes to daylight very soon. Probably in the worst case here, in top of the slope, probably 3 foot cover at the most.
And what's the maintenance of those four new structures?
The maintenance plan is actually on C4, and the biannually sweeping and cleaning of the catch basins, and the standard DEP maintenance is actually right on the plans, and also the name and address of the contact person who is the owner is on the plan. So the maintenance will be according to the standard maintenance and operation plan of the site.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes, I had a question regarding the current drainage from the site into the more wetland area. Is it mainly happening through, where you said near treatment unit 4, or is there any other areas where it's happening as well?
I'm so sorry. I didn't understand your question.
Oh, sure. So you were saying before that you were going to raise up near where the new unit 4 will be, and most of the water will be going that way as opposed into the wetlands.
Yes.
Is there any other areas where the water is going into the wetlands besides that one major area, or would that be handling most of the drainage into the wetlands?
No, actually there aren't, because the curbs are existing and the grading is existing as it is. So those areas that I mentioned that there is direct runoff into the wetland or into the pond, for whatever reason, it did not happen over the time. Originally, you can see that there is a swale installed with riprap, as you saw today. So those were made that way, man-made, constructed, and we are getting rid of it. We are improving it. Other than that, no, there are no other areas. There is curbing all around. There is berming all around. Some of the berms are, of course, damaged by plow, but they are being replaced. And the grade is, except these minor grade adjustments here, really everything else remains as it is, and it's working fine.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
All right, this is going to, we can't make a determination tonight, as you know. We do not have, well, you weren't here earlier, we don't have a quorum at our hearing. So we have a 7-member board, and we need 4 to conduct a vote. I'm sure Mr. Carbone is aware of this, but so this will be continued for action for the next hearing, which is June 12th. Okay. I'm leaning towards a -3, just to let you know. I can't speak for the other commissioners, and I'm sure there'll be questions from the commissioners not present tonight towards this, but I'm not seeing anything here that's glaring at me that I have some concerns. And if anything, with the installing of these VOR systems, you're improving the, catching the suspended solids, which is always a good thing, which isn't, being currently done now. the maintenance on these things, these are fairly low maintenance units. They can handle a tremendous amount of sedimentation inside the unit, and they do have to be inspected ultimately and cleaned out, but that's very easy to do, and they're very low maintenance units, so that I am familiar with. I saw the notation, but I'm familiar with these anyway from past projects, so all right. Yes?
I just want to ask one procedural question. When I was looking at the actual permit application itself, procedural question, we should have submitted the permit in the name of the entity that actually owns the property. I'm not exactly sure how my name is the only one that ended up on it. So I know you published this in the paper. Do you have instances where you can leave mine but add on the other name?
Yeah, that will need to be corrected, and it should be corrected.
Yeah.
The owner, who is the owner?
So it's a single purpose entity that we form with every entity that we buy. So it's called NV 10 and 55 Technology Drive.
That will need to be corrected
Yeah.
for the final.
And if we need to if you're doing a continuation and you need to re-advertise, or
No.
I hate to go back to square one, as you can imagine.
Yeah, no, I
So-
don't believe it needs,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't answer that question, right this second, but I
Yeah.
don't believe that needs to be corrected, or re-advertised. It just needs to be corrected for the final order, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. We'll work through it with you guys over the next few days.
All right.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
this will be motion to continue for the June 12th by Commissioner Gordon,
Motion to continue.
and seconded by Commissioner Varnum. Any discussion, all in favor? I oppose, the ayes have it. All right, so we'll see you again on June 12th. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda is enforcement order, also continued from prior hearings. Ralph Tucci, 108 Tanner Street, concerning 131 Tanner Street and 1N9 Brook Street, concerning dredging of soil, dumping of materials which may degrade water quality, destruction of plant life within 100-year floodplain, riverfront area, and bordering vegetative wetland. I assume that you're Mr. Tucci.
Yes,
Welcome.
thank you.
All right, Swati, if you could bring us up to date as to what's going on this site?
So I had communicated with one of Mr. Tushi's colleague, and Luis, and he was very helpful in communicating with Mr. Tushi because Mr. Tushi was traveling a little bit. So we have the silt fence installed. It's in good condition, and it was site verified, site investigated. Unfortunately, because the riverfront and the buffer has been disturbed quite extensively, at least at the surface level, with the previous cleanup and how the land has been used. We discussed with Mr. Tushi about maybe strengthening the character of the riverfront, at least the 25 feet, and we were talking about maybe having some additional vegetation, kind of acting as a buffer so that he can use the land appropriately without having to file for a notice of intent, because right now there is no proposal for anything going on that land. I mean, he doesn't even have anyone leasing the land right now. So this will be kind of like a proactive preventive measure if something comes up in future, so that this gives enough time for the riverfront vegetation to establish. So I shared with him about, the planting that needs to happen there, and also recommended some native species. And we were hoping maybe we can discuss something about how to take that forward, because the silt fence is not going to be a permanent feature that will contain the situation there.
Yeah, correct. Nor should it be either. What we have, there's siltation fence that's protecting the resource area now that's been installed. But what we would like to do is replace that, have it so that can be removed, but to stabilize the bank and stabilize the disturbed area with some ground cover, okay? Something that doesn't, prevent your utilization, appropriate utilization of the site, something that's not, terribly costly, something that's fairly easy to put in, low shrubs and stuff like that, and something that acts as sort of like a prophylactic to prevent future dumping, because from what I understand, there was some, either with a tenant or some trespassing going on, there may have been some, dumping on the site because of the condition of it or the way it looked and whatnot, so, creating some sort of natural barrier that's, doesn't prevent use of the site for you and your tenants as was traditionally used, but just not in the nature, it can't be used as a dump site, as you're aware, and that's why we're here. Something that stabilizes the disturbed area, and what we've asked our conservation officer to do is to work with you to get that ball rolling, so to speak. Do you have any proposals? Are you looking any particular direction? I know we've given you some, I know it's the first time we're seeing you tonight, but I know you've been working with Swati.
Yeah. Where do you want the plants? On the side of the silk fence towards the canal or the other side? Away from the canal?
Yes.
So it'd be, from where the silk fence now towards the street, it'd be 2.5 feet out from there. That's where you
Yes.
want it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we are trying to limit any impact on the riverfront, and where the silt fence is right now, it's already into the 25 feet, so we don't want to, take it,
Yeah.
like, make that even thinner.
So
That's
I'm gonna
why.
lose 2.5 feet out, 300 feet down. My taxes were 13,000 3 years ago, now they're 18,000. But, is there any way of getting anything back from the taxes in the city? Losing that land?
We don't have control over
Okay, you don't
that.
have control of that, okay.
Unfortunately, that's not
I
our.
know, but you know what I'm saying? And the other thing is, the plants I've been looking at, they're anywhere from $22 to $35 each. And I can't afford that, to do all at one time, and as close as she wants them. So
What
can we-
sort
can
of
we do with
shrubbery
that?
are we looking at?
We were mostly looking at, and I have provided the list to you in the package, mostly native species. And I told him that they can be spaced as much as their natural growth allows. So that's something, the spacing and the species is something he can work with a landscaping contractor or a company that will provide planting. Based on the species he select, that's a range, actually. So we are not, it's not one of those development projects where we are looking at anything happening, impacting immediately. But, similar to the stand we took with 125 Cambridge Street, we are basically looking at having something in place which will naturally grow out and establish itself.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, that's something a landscape contractor will be able to provide more direction.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't control the cost of it, but this is here on an enforcement order. And the concerns of the enforcement order need to be addressed. And the conditions that prompted the original enforcement order have been somewhat remediated, but the site needs to be restabilized now. And that's all part of the enforcement order. I understand there's a cost associated with it, but the flip side to that is fines and penalties from the Conservation Commission, and I can assure you those are exceedingly more than a couple of a number of shrubs to stabilize the site. So I would suggest that it's in your best interest to work with the DPD and our conservation officer to get that done
I understand.
post-haste.
And I was gonna ask you if I could do like 75 shrubs this year and 75 next year? I mean, it's been like that for 30 years, the banking. I've owned the property for 30 years. I mean, you took like $15,000. I don't have it. I owe $25,000 in real estate taxes. Go to the city, find out how much I owe in real estate tax. I'm just being honest. I'm not being an idiot. I'm not trying to be I'm just trying to explain to you. It's a burden, you know? Yeah, I cleaned it up. You see how nice I cleaned it up? I put the silk fence up. There was a pile of bark mulch. I took it out right away. Within a week of time, you told me. I put the fence up. I'm a farmer. I own a farm in Pittsfield, New Hampshire. I'm an hour and a half away from here.
All right, hold on.
But if we
Commissioner
could do
Barnum.
work something out.
I was out at the site before the entire silt fence was installed, and I think I have a pretty good idea of where the silt fence is. It's a little way in from the top of the slope, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's in. Yeah, it's in like
And-
4 feet from where the slope starts down.
And it seems to me that there was still quite a lot of vegetation, but there were gaps in it where people had been able to dump piles of things or wind-blown debris or whatever, was able to get through there.
Right, yep, yes.
I can be sympathetic to your plight. I mean, this isn't exactly a single-family neighborhood here. Just by looking at it, if I didn't have a tape measure and said, we want to protect this slope and we want to protect the stream,
Yes.
to me, it looked like a strip of shrubbery in the gaps, perhaps located maybe 3 or 4 feet in from top of slope, would have been the place that I would expect to have. I would expect that that's quite a lot of land taken away from you, as you said. I know that Swathi's told you right. I know she's told you the way it should be. But practically looking at it, I want to protect the slope, and I want to keep things from falling down the bank.
Me too.
And I think that you have quite a few shrubs there already, and if you filled in the gaps along the line of the top of slope, but not right at the edge of bank, but back, say, 3 or 4 feet, that would satisfy my feeling that you could protect the slope that way. And these are wonderful native species that Swathi has picked out here.
Yeah,
But I've been to the nurseries quite a lot, and I know what you're saying in that respect, too. There are plenty of things that will fill in that are less costly. For instance, junipers, I think, are fairly,
The low bush blueberries, bushes.
well, low bush blueberries would be wonderful, but I'm not sure they're hardy enough to live in that environment.
She has it on the list.
Well, I know that these are things that are good for wetland areas and things that are native. What we don't want to see is something that's invasive. For instance, if you planted a burning bush there, which is no longer allowed in the state of Massachusetts, that would not be a good thing. But there are lots of shrubs that probably are available that we might consider. For instance, forsythia, you could probably dig up 100 of them in my yard.
Yeah. If we
And,
could make a list of that, I'd be more than willing to do it. I mean, I don't have a problem at all in, filling the gaps in and keeping it dressed up and
And
keeping the vegetation there.
Speaking of forsythia, again, that's a dense fence once it grows in, and none of that trash is going to get past that.
Yeah, but
unless- Unless they bulldoze the bushes.
Yeah, no, yep.
I would like to, work with you in a practical manner and get the gaps protected first.
First, okay, yeah, oh, I know what you mean,
And
there's
get-
nothing there.
Get
Yep.
that filled in.
Now,
and-
that's on the side of the fence on the water side, you're saying, right?
Well, that's where I would think would be the practical place to put it.
Okay.
My feeling is if you put it on the inside of the silt fence, your trucks and things that are coming through there are gonna kill it.
Yeah, right,
They're gonna run right over it, or back right into it, or,
exactly.
uh,
And the other side, the silk fence, like you're saying, towards the canal, that, right there, top little ridge there, is like 2 or 3 feet, there's some bald spots there, it'd be
that's
perfect.
the area that I would target,
Exactly.
but, yeah, I know there's probably a few more feet that belong to the buffer.
Right.
But, as long as we're protecting that slope and protecting things from going down the slope, that's what I'd work for.
Yeah, and I'd, work on, one section at a time, a month, and then next month I'll do another section and just pick at it. And you could even come and check it, once a month and see the progress and see, I'll be there to show you what we've done and get your input on it, work together.
I would
I
check
have no
out,
problem doing it.
check out what shrubs are available or where you can get some. Maybe your neighbors have some they'd
Yeah,
like.
but no, even those yellow bushes, those are working reasonable.
Yeah,
And they grow like weeds, like you said, they're like a nice buffer.
Yeah, I'll second the forsythia. You can come in my yard, too. I can't get rid of them. Not that I want to, but and they grow quickly.
Yeah.
So, Commissioner Gordon?
No questions.
All right. We don't really need to take any action as long as we've got progress, so this will just get continued generally for updates and take Commissioner Varnum's comments to heart. She's
Yep.
sensitive to a lot of those issues, but yeah, if let's fill in the major gaps and we can backfill, and be sensitive to the fact, I'm not here, I don't want to be taking your property, away. I don't want to be reducing the footprint that you've been able to utilize.
Right,
That's not what we're here for.
I appreciate that.
We're just here to, that
Yeah.
bank and, and debris ending up in the resource area, and secondarily, not to reutilize the site for what prompted the original
Exactly. Yeah. That's tenants,
order to begin with, so,
Yeah.
okay,
It wasn't nothing to do with me, I know, but it's
All
my
right.
property.
okay. Thanks for coming in.
All right, and give me a couple of weeks, if you want to give me a call, then you can come, I'll start in a couple of weeks, buying some and putting some in them bare spots, and you come by and look at them.
Sure, and, from the list, and if the landscape company or whoever from where you're getting the plant, if they have recommendation for more sustainable, financially and also in terms of them surviving out there, if they have species which spread out even further, you can definitely plant them at
Okay.
further distances along.
Yeah,
And,
'cause I contact Mahoney's and Chelmsford, and they were good,
Sure.
gave me
Yes,
price lists of some of the
they are
things.
a good company. I'm aware about them. And do you want me to give you an update, like maybe after like 2 meetings or something, for this to be?
Yeah, just so it doesn't slip away, yeah. We
Yes,
don't have to
sure,
bring this back
sure.
every meeting, as long as
Yes,
there's
sure.
progress.
So I will be in communication with email to provide you maybe pictures and everything, and maybe at some point you decide it's ready to be concluded. Okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
The next 2 items on the agenda are ratifications for emergency certifications, but we can't take any action because we don't have a quorum. Just to fill in the members that are here and whatnot, this is regarding city-owned property between Beaverbrook and the Aiken Street Bridge, and University of Massachusetts property between the University Ave Bridge and Beaverbrook. These are the sites that have been in the news recently regarding the city's removal of tents and temporary structures that were built along the Merrimack Riverway, and relocation of inhabitants that had taken up residence along these areas. The work was ongoing. The city was doing their own parcel, and Clean Harbors was doing the University of Massachusetts Lowell site. I had spent a couple of hours with Swathi last week or 2 weeks ago, last week, yeah, and walking these two sites, getting a sense for the area and what the city was proposing to do, or what needed to be done to do the initial cleanup work. Likewise with the university site. The city site was a relatively upland site. It's within the BVW of the Merrimack River, however, however, it was beyond the top of Bank. It was beyond the riverfront area. Fairly well-established upland area on the northeast side of the river, and beyond the walkway that's existing there now, and up another slope, and up to a level area that's basically part of the top of the levee that runs along the Pawtucket Boulevard. It was fairly densely vegetated, lots of invasives. It was just actually, unfortunately, heavy with invasives. There was a lot of dead, older, mature trees that were either standing dead or had already come down, either through either having been taken down by the inhabitants that were living in that particular area, or that had just fallen over the years. The city wanted basically at that time to remove the debris that was the man-made debris and tarps and other debris areas that were brought in, to remove that and to remove as much underlying vegetation so they could get in there by hand and with small equipment to make work easier. It was fairly, I shouldn't say open, but it was walkable for the most part, because we're still fairly early in the season. It's been somewhat dry, and there wasn't a lot of revegetation, but you could see where it was going to get very heavy. I mean, most of the trees, as a matter of fact, practically all of the mature trees were covered in invasive vines. In vining, they were going to, as much as they could, rip that out, which is only a good thing, and get that out of there, so it would give an opportunity for the standing trees that were still alive to at least stand a chance for survival. What was standing dead, they were going to take down, mulch in place, and as was necessary, they were going to remove smaller caliper trees. The order I had signed was for 3 inches or smaller caliper trees as necessary. Everything other than that was to remain standing unless it was dead. Then they could take it down for safety reasons. Anything larger than 3 inches that they wanted to remove, they had to tag separately for further review by the commission for appropriateness. They will be returning with a full notice of intent to do the final site work. What they propose is to clean it out, open it up a little bit so it's highly visible from the Pawtucket Boulevard, and potentially even usable by people utilizing the Riverwalk area that's there, so they can walk in that area. The ground cover would be, for the time being, would be chipped wood from the trees that were going to be cut. The invasives would be removed from the site. So eventually the the chippings would, degrade and ground cover would establish, natural ground cover would establish itself, and that's the hope. The university site, so the city site was, in my opinion, was much easier to work. The reason I signed the emergency order was there was evidence of needles and booby trapping that was a hazard to the workers that were in there. There was 2x4s with nails coming up that was to, prevent others that were not familiar with the passageways and which way to approach into the area. There were, fishing lines with hooks were strung between trees. Also, you're looking down and not looking up, so there was a significant public safety and worker safety issue that required, in my opinion, the signing of the emergency certification. For the city site. For the university site, it was remarkably different. They didn't find any evidence of any booby trapping going on. It was a relatively open, beached, sandy site. Unfortunately, the debris field was much more extensive, and the evidence of human habitation and disturbance was much more extensive on the university site. The standing trees and large mature trees that were there were much healthier, and there was very little evidence of standing dead trees. The trees that were in that area were more of a wetland species, red maples, and there was several oaks, not many though, but it seemed to be more maples that were down in that area. As I said, it was very open, very accessible to small, not a caterpillar, but a bobcat or something that would be necessary to get down there to do some of the larger cleanup that still required to have been done. The amount of debris that was down there was just beyond words, actually. It was significant. The problem the university has is access to the site. It's pretty much foot access as right now. The only real way they would be able to, there's no roadway, there's no pathway into those areas. The only way they'd be able to get any sort of vehicle down there would literally be a crane up on the boulevard and to hoist the vehicle and drop it down with a crane onto the site. So that would, other than building a road somewhere, and that's really not feasible. It's not planned. It wasn't contemplated in the emergency order for there. It's something that they perhaps may be doing in the future, but we'll be filing. We'll be filing if that's the case. For now, it was just to clean up the debris. They will be. As a part of that, we'll be requesting from the state Department of Transportation to cut through the fence. There's a chain link fence that runs along there, and to cut through the guardrail so they can get a crane and get machinery so they can get it down in there. The amount of debris that was down there, it's so extensive that you can't, it's really not possible to do it by hand. The amount of debris that they actually did by hand, I was shocked that how much they had gotten done. But it was just a small amount compared to what they still needed to do. It was beyond words. There's extensive evidence of the, and I guess that was from the oil leak a couple of years ago up in Manchester or way further upstream on the Merrimack River where they put the discs, the absorbent discs in. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of those on that property. They're everywhere. You can't step anywhere without stepping on at least 6 or 7 of them. They're everywhere. So I believe the university and the city are going to be investigating with the outfit that's responsible for that, for assistance in the cleanup of that. So I'm not actually privy to that information yet, but that was being discussed. As I said, they're everywhere. What a beautiful piece of property. It's beachfront property down there. It's relatively open. It's sandy beaches down there. It's treed. It's peaceful. It's relaxing, and it would be in the city and the university's best interest, obviously, to keep it clean, to keep it open, and perhaps even potentially accessible to the public at large. It's just an area that most people obviously have not been down because of the circumstances and the situation, but it could be a relatively enjoyable piece of property for the city and the inhabitants of the city to utilize going forward. But as it stands now, the 2 emergency orders I signed were just for the cleanup and the debris removal. As I said, the city parcel was more, it's an easier area to work. It will not be once things start growing because it was much more densely vegetated than the university parcel. However, the potential danger to the workmen that will be doing the work, I think, warranted the emergency certification on the university property. While the immediate threats weren't as acute on the university property, it was just the sheer amount of material that still needed to be removed, and the health hazard. I mean, it was not a good, healthy situation. It was one of those areas that you just, I joked with Swati, you wanted to go home and take a shower. So I likewise signed an emergency certification for that. Now, we can't ratify that, and if the areas wanted, if you want to view the areas, I'm sure that can be arranged through Ed Patnod with the city and TJ McCarthy with the university, but that can be done through Swati and through the office. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to walk the properties with the commission or commissioners if anyone should so choose. But just to fill in, that's what my observations and the reasons why I signed the emergency certifications for the 2 separate properties, fully anticipating that we'll be receiving notice of intent filings for both going forward. So, has there been any further development?
Yes, we have been in contact, Mr. McCarthy has been in contact with me multiple times since our site visit, and they have developed the framework, and they're trying to get quotes. The scope has been developed for their long-term application because they need to hire someone to do it. So they said the notice of intent, they're trying to do, they're not sure they'll be able to make it for the June 12th meeting, but they said they're going to keep us posted so that they keep us aware about their progress. So hopefully for the second meeting in June.
Okay. Any questions of me or Swati from the commission? All right. So, I mean, we can't ratify anything tonight, so. This is not on the agenda, but I likewise signed an emergency certification also today for Centennial Island properties. This is off Lawrence Street, if you're familiar with the Centennial Island apartments that are along the Concord River area. There's an old single lane wood-framed bridge that is in the back of their property that connects the mainland side of their property, and it goes across Hales Brook, and I guess that's the old Middlesex Canal, empties out into there, into the Concord River at that area. But it connects to the back structure, and there's a fairly sizable part of the mills that are back there, and there's a circle that's serviced there with a couple of parking areas. Now, and there's only a few. There's not a lot. Normally, that wouldn't be the purview of an emergency certification. However, it was brought to my attention that the fire department's only access to that side of the building, and there's a fairly significant size of it. I don't know how many residents there are there, but easily could be over 100 that are in that section of the building. The only way they can get back there is to traverse that bridge. So based on that, I felt it was simple to sign right now, the emergency certification is exploratory. They're going to take up the planking. There's heavy wooden planking on the top, and then there's for lack of a better term, support beams that hold up the planking, and those support beams run across and are resting on structural members that actually are into the footings of the bridge and hold the bridge up. The structural engineer has certified that recently that the structural members that are supporting the bridge need to be looked at, that there's evidence of degradation and that they cannot support a fire truck, for instance. So what they want to do is open up the planking, it'll give them an opportunity to look at the condition of the members. So what this does is it allows them to do that. They have the secondary cross members all ready to be put back in place. So it's something they anticipate can be done within a day or two. To do that once they start work, they're going to string a netting underneath the bridge to catch any debris that could potentially fall into the brook there that runs in. And the Concord River's right there. I mean, they're within 50 feet of the Concord River, and they're directly over the Hale Brook. So it's a fairly hardened bank. It's a granite bank, as you may or may not be aware. So and the area around it is mostly pavement, and there's some grassy area, but it's fairly easy area to work in. It's just the best access to it is right through the top of the bridge. If they need to replace the members, that's going to be a much more involved project, and they are filing for exterior work around the buildings that they're doing anyway. And that may or may not be part of the filing. The danger is obviously if they do find structural problems with the support beams themselves, they are going to have to replace those. In my opinion, I feel that, and I let Aaron Clausen know, one of our administrators, and also the engineer from Land Tech that was out there. I let him know I would likewise most likely sign an emergency certification for that work also, given the fact that if the bridge does need to be replaced, from talking to the engineer that was on site, it seemed to be not a simple fix, but something that can be done with almost no impacts to the resource area that exists, and the resource can be adequately protected. It's something they can move on very quickly, but has an acute problem, because right now they cannot get a fire truck over that bridge, and it's a serious concern. So I don't know if there's any questions. And again, that's not something we can ratify tonight, but it's something that I signed today. Is there any other, I know we don't have any minutes, any other business? Okay, all right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
By Commissioner Gordon, seconded by Commissioner Varnum. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the ayes have it, and good night.